how Dune is an allegory for the gospel. And I absolutely had to bring Baby on to talk about this because Baby is a Dune head. And so Baby will be here with me.
I'm already not pleased by the title, I'll say.
It's not good. Luckily, it's under 10 minutes. It's only 7.5 minutes or so. How Dune is an allegory for the gospel. And I gotta say, I scrubbed 20 seconds or so into this, and I was cackling because I knew that you would hate this specifically. So I need to. To preface, Baby has read.
I've read Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. And I know about the future storyline a bit into God Emperor. I don't know the specifics. Maybe I'll pick them up later. But I much prefer Frank universe, and I've heard about some of Brian verse. Don't like it. Prophecy was meh. So
yeah, and obviously big fan of the Denis films. But
yes.
And this guy is talking about the films. And so he's, of course, only seen Dune Part 1 and 2, which I think if you're kind of like, if you're a guy that watches like American Psycho and you like Patrick Bateman, or if you're like really into Tyler Durden, you are really big into Paul Atreides. And then Dune Messiah is going to come out, and I'm so excited to see what happens. Without any spoilers at all necessarily, very excited to see. So, what were you saying?
He's very similar to a Tyler Durden for sure. Like, and you know what's funny is I think Timothée Chalamet would be so disappointed that he knows that there are people out there that don't understand the story and his acting. Because dude,
Chalamet takes it real seriously too. He's kind of a nerd about it. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's get into how. I'm telling you, it's not gonna. You're gonna make me pause quick.
Is Paul Atreides from the Dune movie supposed to be Jesus?
See. Paul Atreides.
Dude, he watched the movies. They say it in the movie. Okay,
I know. Let me start over.
Is Paul Atreides from the Dune movie supposed to be Jesus?
Well,
may thy knife chip and shatter.
Oh, he just wanted some lamentations. Hit him with the Dune.
Dude, we're just,
okay,
dude, that gets copyrighted so fast.
Frank would hate this video immediately.
Dude, Frank
he would
is
be
fucking grave right now. Frank is like, oh my fucking god, this is why I had to write Messiah.
Frank's eyes just fucking rolled into his skull. It's over. This is like, so sure. In some ways, I would say, from my perspective as an atheist, yeah. Paul Atreides is a lot like Jesus, right? Yeah.
That's why I literally said Swordo.
Yeah. Specifically, the propaganda around the Kwisatz Haderach, that and Muad'Dib, that right there, that is very Jesus.
So I want to do something a little bit different today. I want to talk about the movies Dune 1 and Dune 2.
Uh-huh.
Can we stop letting we should have a moratorium on white men buying podcasts.
Sorry.
It's a little caveat before we get into this. I am completely new to the Dune universe.
Uh-huh.
I did not watch the original movie or read any of the original 28
Okay,
novels.
the original movie, never watch it. David Lynch is a hack. If you watch that movie, you will not understand Dune.
You won't even like Dune if you watch the Lynch movie.
You'll be like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, if you like the Lynch movie, you might not like Dune in general, because I don't know how it appeals to a person.
I've heard some Lynch defenders, and I'm just like, I don't understand.
I'm going to call out Jeff Holiday right now by name, because I need to understand. I need to understand why he likes the Lynch Dune.
Maggie Mayfish, too, really likes...
Maggie Mayfish. I would love to fucking talk to both of them about Dune.
Can't.
So funny.
I will give them credit though. They were like, Maggie Mayfish was like, it's corny and it definitely doesn't follow the books, but she likes it for its own merit. I still can't.
No, if you like it for being bad, I can buy it, but I don't think that's what's going on. Jeff, I feel like Jeff didn't even like the new one. Anyway, it's not about Jeff Holiday, who I like.
The 2021 and 2024 Dune was my full introduction. and it did not disappoint. See, one of my and my wife's favorite things to do is to go to the movies. But unfortunately, over the last 6 months, there has literally been nothing out there that we wanted to watch. Until we started noticing people talk about Dune 2, saying it was the greatest movie that was ever made. At this point, we had not watched Dune 1, so we decided we would watch the first Dune at home Saturday, and then on Sunday, we would go out to the theater to watch the second.
After church, probably, right?
We did this, by the way, and it was a great marathon.
Oh, yeah. The movies are so good. I mean, we watch them they're kind of like Lord of the Rings to me now, where I just kind of can put them on for the vibes, because they are very good vibes movies.
100%.
On the Lord's Day.
Now, the first movie was amazing. The cinematography was nothing short of breathtaking, a phenomenal story, and a respect to the audience to not hold their hand.
Well,
apparently,
I think we need a little more hand-holding.
A little more, because this guy is losing the plot. Although I would say in Dune Part 1, I guess you're not really... I guess Paul is pretty openly opposed.
The problem is that they definitely... I think Denis actually... hot take, I know we're only a minute in. Tangent. Denis kind of actually justifies Paul a little bit more. And, you kind of feel like he has... Like, the journey he's taken has made sense. Like, oh yeah, I understand why he would take those choices or make that choice.
Yeah, you mean than Paul in the books. You mean he's a little more, he has more motivation.
I think Paul in the books is a little more Gary Stu, I'm going to be honest.
I agree. I think that's true.
He's just the best at everything, So he kind of is he just like leads by superiority. And I think he's a little more nuanced in the Denis film, but I like it because he's like, it shows the tragedy of him being basically screwed over by fate, because it really is that for him.
You haven't noticed in movies nowadays, they will oversimplify things or make the attempt to over-explain so that it can be more appealing to a larger audience.
Like you're doing with this fucking video?
I was going to say, but it doesn't appeal to a larger audience, so it's fine. No one watches, really. We're it.
Dune.
I thought you specifically would hate this video.
He's doing the YouTube voice, and it drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Did not do that. That doesn't mean it lacked exposition, but instead it did it in a way where it genuinely felt like me and my wife were piecing together the story ourselves as the film went on.
I'm gonna be honest, it's because not a lot actually happens in Dune. It's like a fucking 800-page book that doesn't really... There's exposition in the books, but he stole all of the best lines from the book.
Right. Well, didn't steal them. He adapted them. Thank you.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah. He really hit the key points in conversations in a good summary, I think.
I will also say that Denis, the director of the films, doesn't go into the political discussions as much as the books. And I think if he did, his movie would be like 7 hours long.
Denis behind the scenes has talked about how he understands that, that it is about the dangers of a messiah figure. So he gets it. You know? So that's why I know it's gonna hit in Messiah. I think he's looking forward to flipping the script on that.
Oh yeah, Messiah I think is going to be really interesting because I think it's going to get review bombed at first.
It could, yeah. A lot of people would be like, "That's not my Paul Atreides."
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "This is like the fucking the Last Jedi or whatever." Is it TLJ, the one I like? Yeah.
Now, with that being said, the first installment was a bit slow, almost like the entire movie's point was just to build to the second, which I think it was, but that didn't matter.
I sort of, but also
half of the actual book Dune is the first movie.
Yeah,
legitimately.
Yeah, I mean, he part 1 and 2 for the books. I would say that Dune, to call it slow, kind of, but it's about atmosphere and the build. Yeah. It's more like, in my opinion, sort of like a song that sort of builds over time. And moves toward, whatever your climax is. But I don't think... I think it's more quiet than it is slow,
Yeah, so the way that Denis shot it really gave me... Because there's a lot of in the books, a lot of the characters will sit around and they will just, pontificate in their heads about shit. And so we get a lot of these shots in the first Dune film where you see like Paul is just kind of like sitting in his room listening to his fucking like holotapes or whatever. And in the books, it would be him like thinking about, you know, what Dr. Yue said, or what he would have like a whole internal dialogue. But I like that we kind of get these slow paced moments in the first bit where you can just kind of be in the atmosphere of the characters, and it feels less like an action movie, because it's not really an action movie, you know?
And I don't think the books are action books. I think they're politics books, you know? I think they're...
it's a political narrative, so...
It's in a sci-fi setting, which is cool, but...
I was invested through every single step of the film. I don't think there was a single scene I would have cut from the film to save from its long 2 hours and 45-minute runtime, I think it was. And then we get to Dune 2, in my opinion, the best movie ever made. That's right, not just the great...
A lot of guys like... Dude. A lot of guys like 2 because it has the action.
Best movie ever made. I agree, it's one of the best, and I'm very excited for Messiah and looking forward to like the full set. But like, I love him missing the fucking point altogether and thinking it's the best. This is going to crush him, and it's going to be good.
Greatest movie this year or the last decade of all time. The entire movie had me sitting there, literally wide-eyed, thinking to myself, holy crap, this is so cool. The universe, the imagery, the fight scenes, the narrative, the sound design.
Like,
the narrative. Okay.
The narrative that I didn't understand.
You can tell when somebody really gets art when they talk about it, because they'll start going into like really nuanced and specific things and like give you... This guy's just like, I really like the art, the cinematography, the narrative, the character design.
All of it was just short of perfection. But in all honesty, none of this should shock me, because this movie, like a lot of movies, is just a retelling of the gospel.
Nope.
No.
Nope. That's not. No.
I mean, sort of. So, dude, it's like, it's so crazy to me, because like, okay, so your idea of a Messiah is a guy who wages war and then like betrays everything he was as a person, and who like his father was to gain power.
Okay.
I don't even see how you can map this onto Jesus, other than the fact that he's like a worship.
They use the word Messiah
but
for him.
But wasn't Jesus, he didn't have that many disciples, right? Like,
right.
His biggest following happened after he died.
This is closer to Muhammad, honestly.
Yeah, really.
Like, genuinely, because he builds like war tribes and stuff up. And like, it's interesting because someone in chat, who was it? Laser Panther. No, it was... I can't see it now. Ooh, St. Henry. You know what would have been a more interesting take? Paul as David, the father of Jesus. Which, maybe, sort of.
You know, that makes more sense,
but
considering that would map on more accurately.
Well, right, honestly. Yeah. But it's almost closer to like... It's not even that, because David's not even really involved in the story of Jesus. You know what I mean? Oh, King David? Maybe. I don't know. It's just not Jesus. It's not a mapping.
Which, of course, is the actual perfect story. The story in which all stories are based off of.
All stories are based off the Jesus story. What about
fucking... The Odyssey has probably inspired more takes than... Well, maybe not more takes than the Bible, but...
No, I mean...
The hero's journey is not based off of fucking Jesus.
Genuinely, Gilgamesh, Hercules, all... Like, there are stories that predate Christianity that it borrows from.
Like I said, I'm not aware of the Dune universe outside of these two movies. So some diehards might say, yeah, duh, this is clearly where they draw their inspiration from, or something along the lines of, I completely missed the point and I'm completely getting it wrong. But
he's hedging so much. You're completely getting it wrong because you're a Christian and it poisons your brain. And you just presuppose your Christianity on stuff.
The funny part is this exactly reveals why Frank wrote Dune, and this guy is the kind of person Frank hates, because he would easily fall for the propaganda of a strong leader.
Yep.
He would fall behind the narrative and the myth of a man. Paul is literally just a man. He is a human, flesh and blood man, no superpowers. He is just, well, I guess he kind of has superpowers. But the only reason he has them is because he was fucking bred to have that, and he doesn't want that, and everyone else has turned him into this fucking Messiah. It's so deeply sad.
This is closer to Life of Brian.
Kinda.
Or The Last Temptation of Christ. That one's basically it's Jesus, but he's like, no, I don't want this.
But if we are to contain Dune 1 and Dune 2 in their own little bubble, it is a retelling of the gospel, but of course, like anything in cinema, it had to pervert it. I remember
It had to pervert it.
What does that mean? What?
I don't
Keep
know.
going.
the first time I had this feeling about a movie, it was during the Avengers Infinity War film. Thanos being the main character, this godlike
Thanos being the main character.
What?
He doesn't know.
He's
Media
the
literacy
main antagonist.
has long died. We are tap dancing in the cemetery.
figure who calls himself I Am and has his followers called the Children of Thanos, who had to come bring balance back to the universe and bring peace. But of course it does it in a perverted way through death and destruction. Thanos
They weren't doing a Jesus allegory. He was doing
He's a bad guy.
yeah, he was doing like what if Hitler was impartial and wasn't cruel in his way, right? Although I'd say he does cruel things throughout his attempt to do this. And in fact, I was thinking about it the other night because I watched. I was looking at like some what if clips or whatever on Disney Plus, and I was just thinking like they should make a what if Thanos used his resources to just help the people he thought should die to make the world work.
Yeah, right.
So stupid.
The movie motivations of Thanos are a little bit sillier, I think, because of that, where he's just like, I'm kind of a eugenicist. We can't support all the life in the universe, therefore we must cull it.
I wouldn't say
But-
I wouldn't say eugenicist. I would say like it was just more about math to him, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the comic books where he's like in love with death?
The comic books one I think is funnier because his motivation is that he I like it.
He's just
that
a simp for
He
death?
just wants to impress Death. He's like, how do I kill as many people as once so that Death will notice me? Which is great.
That is.
has his self-sacrificing moment, but instead of sacrificing himself, he sacrifices the only person that he loved. Of course, this is
'Cause
not a
that's-
direct
That is way more
That is-
sacrifice.
Wait, that's what the whole
Yeah.
thing was, though. It wasn't
Yeah.
sacrifice yourself.
Right, but he's saying that they perverted it, like the writers perverted it, and made it non-Jesus-y. But but Jesus didn't sacrifice himself. Like if it was akin to Jesus, she'd be alive in 3 days.
Yeah, she would
and it
come
would be
back.
a temporary thing.
Yeah.
one-to-one comparison, but we can definitely tell that there is some biblical inspiration here, which leads us to
No.
Paul
To sacrifice someone is not biblical information.
Human sacrifice is clearly inspired by the Bible.
Listen to yourself, man.
Atreides, the main protagonist to the Dune
Protagonist.
films. And now a spoiler warning for Dune 1 and Dune 2. If you have not seen them, go watch them first and then come back to this point in the video.
Sure.
I was about 30 minutes into the first film before I looked over to Abby and I said, oh, he's supposed to be Jesus.
No.
Your brain is cooked.
He is supposed to be their Messiah, their savior. And you know what? It goes poorly.
Look, man, not from your perspective.
It was right after he heard his mother talking to the Reverend Mother about how he wasn't supposed to be born because of their tradition of carrying on only girls and how his mother was
No.
trying to make him the Messiah figure.
No. It wasn't a tradition of carrying on only girls. They specifically, they have to mate people together. So she needed to have a girl because they needed someone to be able to have a baby with Fade Rotha, who is a boy, Harkonnen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they only have girls. They literally just were like, we need a girl for this one breeding pair.
Yeah, but instead, Paul is born, and in the books, doesn't Fade
She
Rotha
makes
want to fuck
Paul-
Paul?
She makes Paul because she loves her husband and wants to give him an heir because he had no male heirs. And so she was like, you know what? If I'm going to have this baby and I love this man, I'm going to give him a son. And the whole point is that they couldn't predict that human love outrighted their generations of fucking plans.
And we're talking 10,000 years of planning for this,
Yeah.
or thereabouts. And then she just does that. I think look, then other things happen.
The Kwisatz or whatever it's called. I
That's Haderach.
Fuck.
Jesus
No one
Christ, they say it
mispronouncing
so many times.
the name, but just bear with me here. The film then proceeds to drop these not so subtle hints
It's weird to me that you would be uninformed and then make a thing on it, but he's a Christian, so it's kind of like the bag.
Yeah.
They don't even read the book. They're like, yeah, I'm a Christian.
I'm sensing a very shallow pool here.
Yeah.
hints all throughout pointing to the fact that he is this Messiah figure. Starting with the people of the Dune planet Arrakis talking.
He is called a Messiah figure because the Bene Gesserit literally started the Missionaria Protectiva, where they go to planets across the universe and they spread the lie that the Bene Gesserit must be protected because they are the only way, like, they know that a Messiah is coming to save us all, you know, from whatever, you know, they manipulate it per planet so that it appeals to usually like the impoverished class on every planet, depending on who they're trying to appeal to. It's quite literally, they say word for words in the books that they understand that they have invented this religion to control people. Jessica, when she has her meeting with Shout-Out Mapes at the beginning, in her head is going, oh, this woman has bought the propaganda. She believes in the Lisan al-Gaib.
Paul outright calls
that's
it
why
propaganda.
She's doing this. Yeah.
Like on 2 separate occasions. It's weird.
And he even fights with her in the movie about this.
Yeah. I told you Baby knew these things. Baby knows.
Yeah.
Talking about prophecy being fulfilled, with one of their people awkwardly screaming when Paul's mother knew what a specific sword was that the people used, claiming that.
Yeah.
So literally that scene in the book is demonstrated to show that Jessica understands that the Missionaria Protectiva has been at work here, and that the myth of Lisan al-Gaib has been spread by the Bene Gesserit.
She was just excited because she was just watching prophecy happen right in front of her. Another point is when Paul put...
Sort of?
Well, Shout-Out Mapes was, because she genuinely believed it.
Yeah, but Jessica wasn't.
It's on the Freeman suit that they used for
Freeman!
Morgan Freeman's.
I hate this!
I knew that you would hate this. I'm so happy.
Traveling the desert, and he knew how to put it on just right. The Freeman helping him then quotes a
He's gonna keep doing it too.
Prophecy saying something along the lines of, he will know our ways. The first movie is littered with all these little signs of Paul being becoming Messiah.
You know what's funny? The reason why he knows their ways is because he's a little dork that he fucking researched Arrakis like tons before he went there, right? Like,
and he's also dreamt about it, I assume. Like,
he has
the implication is that
dreams about Arrakis before they even go there. He dreams about what might happen there, and so like he can see a little bit into the future.
Yeah, and he's a mentat.
Yeah, he is also a mentat.
I mean, he's a Gary Stu. Let's say what it is.
Yes, he is.
I will say Denis' take is better. He feels more fallible and harmable, and
I think Denis' take makes him feel more down to earth and grounded, and so like an audience can relate to him and feel sucked in, and then they go, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah. Hold on. But why does being a mentat make him good at putting the shoes on right? Is just because they're real smart?
Look, because he's he also like jerry rigs some crazy shit in the desert in the books when he's traveling. So it's kind of implied that he's like a child genius that can put together fucking tech, and he just knows how things
so he
rips apart
he can do a
Fremen technology to do he's just a fucking dork. That's literally it.
They fashion they go on slip fashion around the ankle.
Slip fashion around the ankle.
What's that mean? Who knows?
For the people right until the end when Paul enters into combat with a Freeman that does not trust him, and Paul ends up killing him. His first kill. And this right here is where the perversion of the gospel becomes very clear.
It's not a gospel, dude.
I mean, I guess he's kind of like, he almost gets it, right? He's like, oh, this is kind of like religion, right? Because like that guy is supposed to be the Messiah, and then it's like, wait, but he just killed a guy, and it's like, yes.
What you're seeing is what we call like a cultural motif, or like not derivative in the negative sense, but it, you know, there is some fashion to where Frank is obviously talking about how religion operates, especially Abrahamic religion, and so like you're seeing some vestiges of it, but it's like, I don't know how. I mean, I guess it's just because of Christianity.
The reason they even have the duel is because that's just how Fremen society works too. Like it's a very combat oriented society. So you like.
And Frank knew that combat societies were the strongest societies, with the strongest warriors because of their biology from their harsh.
No. It's because of their harsh environment.
Right, because of their harsh environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing for the prison planet. The fucking, we're all the toughest warriors. I love Frank. Good for him.
Paul is not the representation of Jesus that we know from the Gospels, but instead he is a representation of what the Jews expected the Messiah to be. A conquering hero that liberates them from the authority of Rome, which is
Okay, so when I
actually
talk
don't
about,
know anything about Jewish.
well, that's why I'm here, baby. Why don't you just keep your pretty little mouth for the Dune stuff, your brain, use it for the Dune facts. I'll be here for the religion stuff. Yeah, because Jesus and the reason the Gospels were written were for political reasons. The character of Jesus is a mascot for political revolution, like from the like lower class, like Jewish caste in Judea against the Pharisees and against Greater Rome, right? Because it was like Judea was across the Mediterranean Sea from Rome, right? It's literally a colony. And so there are these people that are very much displaced by Rome or folded in, and there's some good and some bad in that. Obviously, when you're colonized, maybe you get a little bit of like Roman roads and some spices and shit. But also, they're like, "Hey, speak fucking Roman, or we're gonna kill you or whatever." And obviously, like having regular fucking crucifixions in the middle of the day is like obviously not a super thriving community. You know what I'm saying? So like, there was some political upheave, and Jesus, the character, is written from a political perspective to try to say, hey, look, we can reform the church, we can reform our religion, we don't have to live like this, we can do some more progressive things, you know. And for them, it was progressive for the time, but not, you know, as progressive as some, non-religious sects at the time. But anyway, he just doesn't understand that the Bible isn't magic, you know. It's just people writing stuff to try to change their literal material existence.
But did the Jews really expect Jesus to be like a revolutionary fighter?
No. It was more not a revolutionary fighter, more of like a cultural revolution.
Like a leader. Yeah, like a spiritual leader.
Well,
or like
so
the idea
wasn't. Well, I think the idea was to get Christians to mobilize against the state, and they did eventually, and took over. They essentially just took over the state from within. And I lost my train of thought a little bit, but fuck, I just lost it. I had a really good thing to say. I really had a good thing to say, and then I looked at Paul Atreides, and I started thinking, and I literally thought, damn, that's a lot of people, and it just fucking left my brain. Yeah, I lost my brain. Oh, the idea was that, hey, don't you fucking hate Rome? Look, they already the Messiah came and went, and they killed his ass, and you might not even saw that. You know what I mean? Like, they took this from you. Fuck Rome, and that was what it was about. So, because you can't. You got to say, oh, the guy that was doing miracles is dead and gone, because I can't fucking prove I can do them now, right? And that's why they took 40 years ago this happened. Like, shut up.
Flushed out much more in the second movie and has comparisons that, in my opinion, are undeniable. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go through every mention of him being the Messiah in the second film, but instead I'll go over a few key points that are undeniable, that he is just a copycat of Jesus.
A copycat. It's so funny, man.
Literally a critique of messianic figures. Like,
first point.
Fucking Frank wrote these books to be like, isn't it fucking crazy to follow one guy?
Yeah. And not even a guy. The idea of a guy.
Yeah, because Paul spreads mostly through, like, just tale of what he does. And yeah, he does do a lot of cool shit. But, like, you know, so do the fucking freedom fighters around him.
Yep.
Point is his gradual reveal of his messianic authority, with some people accepting it right off the bat and others straight up denying it, only to later come to believe in who he was through his slowly fulfilling prophecy and doing signs and wonders.
Did he miss the part where Chani is still fucking mad at him because he changed to become this messianic figure?
He'll probably say this is a perversion, and it's like, whoa, what if Mary abandoned him or something like stupid?
Did he miss the fucking part where Paul literally says twice in Dune 2 that he does want to get vengeance for the death of his father? Because he could technically live in the South as a Fremen and like not get involved in this, but he played into the delusions about him, you know? Like,
right. And also, like, he says himself, he does drink the worm juice. He says himself, like, I'm not the fucking Messiah, man. And then he says that I'm just gonna have to make them believe if I want to get this shit done.
Yeah, he says it the first day he's with the Fremen.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm gonna have to get followers onto my side using this religion.
The next is the promise that he is the one that will lead them to a new paradise with water and life, similar to a garden that we are all familiar with. But
The Garden of Eden.
Okay.
Wait, do Christians believe you're going to be taken to the Garden of Eden?
It's also funny because technically the ecological change, like this green paradise that he promises to the Fremen,
Yeah.
it becomes complicated in Messiah, we'll say, that promise and how it changes
Yeah.
the world just to change one planet ecologically.
most obvious and glaring point that Paul is supposed to be Jesus is when he went to drink the water of life, which has similarities in itself to biblical passages. And
What?
Yeah. Thou shalt drink the worm
The
juice.
spice? So is he saying that
Spice,
Christians drink drugs that open their mind and then they trip out?
Maybe
and
it's
go
the
through...
transmutation wine thing, or maybe it's just the term water of life, and he's like, yeah, that sounds sort of Christian. You know?
That's so dumb.
And after drinking that water, Paul, for all intents and purposes, dies. But not really. Apparently he was all but dead, and through taking the tear of his romantic interest along with the water of life, he was able to rise from the dead.
Okay.
What's funny is the way that Denis decided to adapt that took away what the explanation of how that works in the books.
Mm-hmm.
Paul does not, in fact, technically get revived because of like her tear or whatever. Chani is technically trained as a Bene Gesserit in the
books
series.
Yeah,
in the books. She's like a Bene Gesserit acolyte, so she knows how to do transmutation, and any Bene Gesserit can do poison transmutation. And in the books, that makes the spice, like the water of life, the drink, that makes it non-toxic to anyone who wants to drink it, actually. So they usually do spice orgies. He totally admitted, got rid of the orgies, but
is there sex in the
pass it
orgies?
around. Yeah, that's how Paul and Chani meet. They're like teenagers, and they go to the first spice orgy, which is like Jessica becoming a Reverend Mother. They take some of the water because they pass the jug around to everyone, and then they are all like, drugged up, and then they.
So everyone takes the water of life in the books.
Yes.
So why is
the
it
whole
so?
Congregation.
Oh, so it's like totally changed in the movies.
Yeah, he totally changed the interpretation. He made the agony more focused on the person taking it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because obviously it's clearly about Jessica and then Aaliyah in her stomach, and how that's fucked up. That is the central point.
Also, I think maybe the spice orgy would have distracted from the movie. It's a distracting scene.
I think he chooses to not have Paul and Chani fall for each other that way, and the way he builds their relationship is much more nuanced and complicated, and I like it. They bond more over freedom fighting in the movie than they do over other shit, just like, oh, you're a boy and I'm a girl, let's kiss kind of shit, because Frank...
That's how we got together, you and me.
Chani department, who is not a great character in the book.
Yeah, that's all our relationship is, though, you and me. We're just like, you're a little small creature.
You're a corn cob.
Fuck.
The death, resurrection, the pool of water, the water of life, all this is symbolism for our death and resurrection.
Paul doesn't die, is what I was getting to.
Yeah, I don't know.
He goes into, like, in the books, it's like a fucking coma for, like, 3 weeks, and then he wakes up and he's like, I can see everything outside of myself. The Emperor is right outside and surrounded. We now have to suddenly come up with a war plan.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it worked in the books.
Yeah, because now he has to do Golden Path. I mean, the movies are better paced, I think, for some of the...
I think they are, yeah.
Some of the action.
And baptism followed shortly after, with Paul looking into the future, saying that he can see many ways they fail, but there's a narrow path in which they succeed. Does this sound familiar at all?
He's gonna say that the narrow path is the fucking, like, needle... Like it'd be easier to get a fucking camel through the eye of a needle than a rich man.
In my ethical opinion, the golden path is not good.
Yeah, I think that's the point, right? Like, that when you get behind a guy
later
and it's his
series, because it feels like Frank is justifying some of the actions that are taken.
Yeah, I guess. It just seems like maybe Frank himself was flawed in his prescription on how to fix things. So, That's really where that boils down to. Because I mean, you could be like, okay, God Emperor has control of the spice, and then he makes hierarchies disappear, and like make sure that people can have what they need, and then everyone thrives. Wouldn't you look at that?
Yeah, but he was an individualist and not a leftist and not a communist. He was a libertarian who believed in individualism.
Okay, and so I'm going to use the Dune books as an example of proof on a man who I think is very bright, thinking very hard on, will my ethical framework work out if put to its extremes? And it doesn't. It does not work out. So, yeah. Any book that I write where the lefties win, I feel like you it would make sense, right? Do you feel like this is a compelling argument?
No, I feel like this guy's kind of dumb and just sees.
All right.
He's what's that meme where it's a guy who's only watched Boss Baby? I'm getting real Boss Baby vibes out of this.
Point in the film, I had zero doubt in my mind what this movie was trying to do. Not
Zero
that it had
doubt.
some evil agenda, but it was clear where they had taken their inspiration from. Even moving towards the end of the film.
Azace in chat, it's not mostly Islam. I mean, obviously the Fremen are very inspired by Islam, but Frank makes a bunch of like amalgamations of different old world religions, like from Earth, into like these sort of modern day religions. So and I wouldn't even necessarily say that the Orange Catholic Bible people are like actually what you would call Christians, because they mix in like Buddhist stuff too. And it's in the Zen Sunni and stuff like that. They have a bunch of different like it's alluding to that's just a faction of people and not a religious.
Don't they have? I guess I thought they had more of like a
they're
woo-woo idea about the technology, but
a lot of it is religion. Like a lot of these factions are just led by different types of religion, which are influenced by previous human religions that just kept merging into different fucking philosophies. That's it.
All right, I did say let's finish it up. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Film, some of the Freemen are questioning him.
Fuck, I gotta pause it. Freeman.
And Paul proves who he is by telling some of the Freemen things about themselves that he should not have known. To me, this was a direct parallel to the woman at the well, where Jesus proves who he is by telling her things about herself that he shouldn't have known. But like,
is this from a TV show I should know?
Said, this is a perversion of the gospel. Yes, Paul has many correlations.
Is it perversion of the gospel? Hey, is it allowed to tell the future when you're a Christian? Is that against the code?
With the death and
for Jesus to be like, hey,
resurrection narrative, but where he differs between the real Jesus is that Jesus was the suffering servant and Paul was the conquering king. Yes, he brought the Freemen into the promised land and fulfilled prophecy, but he did it with the sword, with death, and with destruction. He killed his enemies, he didn't pray for them, and he brought the emperor to his heel by making him kneel and kiss his ring. This is very different than the Jesus who died on the cross and prayed for his enemies to be forgiven. Now,
spoilers? What the fuck?
So read the book.
I'm not reading. It's too long.
If you had finished the book, maybe you wouldn't be spoiled.
Fuck, you're right. I should have finished that shit. Damn.
Now, don't think I'm condemning this movie. Like I said, this movie is phenomenal, and I'm just giving you guys something to think about the next time you go and watch a movie. That if you pay attention, you will notice that the gospel...
If you pay attention, this guy's telling other people how to do it.
In so many films. Obvious ones like The Chronicles of Narnia and Lord of the Rings, but not so obvious ones like The Matrix and Avengers. And the reason that this story keeps being...
Neo is the Messiah.
That's a fucking trans allegory.
No.
Chosen One stories aren't inherently Jesus stories.
What about the Chosen One stories that come before Jesus?
Also, what the fuck does Avengers have to do with... Does he think Tony Stark is Jesus?
Yeah, maybe. Because he dies. Spoilers.
Oh my god. That's gotta be how he actually sees that.
Spoilers, 1965 is when the story came out. That's when I got my first Bible.
Being told and retold is simply because it is the perfect story. There never has been, nor will there ever be anything better. And the reason for that...
Than the Bible?
There's so many better stories.
Yeah. The Bible is not a good story.
Read one Brandon Sanderson novel.
Dude, I'm telling you. Now she's Sanderson pilled.
Is because it is our story. It is his story, and it is true. It's the reason that we live.
Story.
And it's true.
The reason that we have hope. Everything has and will always point back to Jesus Christ and the cross.
No.
I disagree.
Literally, this
I
is the boss
can't
baby
wait for
meme.
him to
oh
watch.
my god!
I cannot wait for him to watch this Messiah. It's gonna be good.
Thank you guys
I
so
have
much
to
for your
look at the
time,
comments section.
and have yourselves a great day.
I need to look at the comments section.
Considering what Paul becomes, I don't think Jesus would appreciate the comparison.
Oh, it's unfortunate you haven't read the novels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beware of the influence of heroes.
The Dune series is largely a warning of the dangers of religion and how it integrates itself into society and government for the worst. Yes, even your religion. I was getter that vibe. Yes, close.
Wow.
I watched the movie in theater. Yeah. Did you hear that? It was the point flying over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is painful.
Well, I knew that you would like it.
You have to make up for it.
Why?
Which you will once Christmas hits.
Exactly.
Well, I'll no longer be mad. But
Look at.
speaking of, it's Christmas. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, everyone!